What I like about the movie is the way it's quite concrete. It's very minimal setting, not too much people, and the story is quite simple, and it develops in a very subtle, kind of abstract way. What I don't like about the film is the end. I think it's too overexposed in a way, completely compared to how it evolves. I think it should be subtle all the way.
Apart from receiving good reviews for the album, you also received a nomination for Norwegian Spellemannpris in the open genre class for the soundtrack to Lyckantropen. I mean, considering the competition that you were up against, there was 3 neo-jazz oriented bands, Samic folk singers. I mean, it was quite serious competition, so I mean, it must have been a great motivator for the band.
It felt okay to be nominated in that class. But apart from that, I perhaps feel that the whole circus around these kind of Grammy awards is it's very coincidental as well.
You've just celebrated the first 10 years as Ulver with a remix compilation called The First Decade in the Machines. It's a very global collection of participants on the album. I mean, there's Third Eye Foundation from England, there's Mersbauer from Japan, as well as Norwegian Upland, who are one of the bands signed to Jester Records. Many bands, including yourselves, seem to have favoured to do remixes of the old trilogy.
I think the distinction there is basically the noise artists took care of the old part of the catalog, whereas the more modern or futuristic sounding of the involved parties took care of more recent sounds.
How does the way you create music today differ from the way you created music in the earlier years?
Not necessarily as much as people think. We prefer to record the real shit, so to speak, if we still can, of course. So most of the drums, at least like 70% of all the drums we use are kind of acoustic drums, at least initially. We're not the total computer geek band yet.
I think the concept of shape-shifting, kind of when Ulver started out, kind of, as you said, kind of uproar in a way. It's quite simple. You have these negations and differences are very easy to spot, and those practicing black metal still are trapped in the same schemes in a way, and it's very easy to pluck it apart. And but by doing all this kind of shiftings all the way, it's not that interesting to be brutal or explicitly black, or it's become more or less a part of the backbone or a way of thinking, and that makes it's not so important to stand out and be so fucking explicit all the way. Just we practice it. We don't know where it's going to take us, but that's not the point.
I do foresee a slight return to something a bit more rock and roll. Not like rock and roll, but just a bit. I foresee kind of going slightly away from the very computer generated feeling towards something, like leaning perhaps a bit more back to the good old way of playing music.
So what lies ahead in the second decade for Ulver? I mean, the Svidnigga soundtrack, we know it'll differ from the Lyckantropen soundtrack, but what can we expect?
Lyckantropen was our first foray into making score music, so and we grew a lot. I think with that process being the first time, we grew further during the making of the score for Svidnigga, which was also or is a feature film which had significantly more money. Necessarily the music is more layered, more orchestrated, more kind of like a slightly more commercial take on score making. You know, I think I see Lyckantropen partly as you know, more experimental, minimal. It's more of a left field kind of project, whereas Sydney, it was commercially fueled from the start, you know, and we had to play a lot more ball as well with all these people involved in that film, and that wasn't necessarily a good experience, but we learned a lot through that as well. So, you know, next time we do this, we know how to, you know, improve and make things even better.
On your webpage there is a sample for the Quick Fix for Melancholy EP. How did this collaboration come around? Because the first thing I thought when I saw it was like, wow, we're going back to William Blake. It's lyrics, it's poetry that we put music to.
We've had the wish doing vocals again in a much more integrated part of the music, and the clip on the net, the sample, is by a Canadian author, which is a beautiful text, which I have been working with in other contexts. And I showed it to Chris, and we decided this is something which can work with the kind of themes and moods in the EP. But that's we also used another by
lyric.
Half a year ago we started writing a lot of lyrics and interviewing ourselves and stuff like that, for making more text to integrate with the music on the next full length.
I think yeah.
And we used one of those lyrics also on the EP, which we have written ourselves. And
I think there's definitely an ever increasing kind of awareness that text is extremely important, and treating text and writing requires a different insight and a different kind of cleverness, or and that's something, that's a challenge we're kind of taking on now, that we really want to put back some substance into the music through language, through text, you know, through writing. So there ain't gonna be bullshit lyrics on the next record, for sure.
The coming album, Utopian Enterprises, where do you plan to take us this time?
We're in the middle of the process right now, so trying to pinpoint what it's going to be is not possible, I think.
Oh, but that kind of.
But we have some ideas and kind of not rules but principles we are trying to incorporate, which are formulated much stronger now than, for example, on the Silence EPs and on the film scores as well. There is music for something else. This is going to be our process fully.
But I think the music is going to support the texts,
yep,
more than the other way around. And some of the magic that happens when we write together, or we something occurs in the studio, it's hard to say why this is good or why it kind of speaks to us, and it's also extremely hard for us now to know, you know, whether this is going to lead us into extremely narrow kind of listening environments and all this, or go the exact opposite route to you know, something far greater.
All right, Chris, Mjörn, thank you very much.
No problem.
Our pleasure.